But I'd like to share some memories with you all because, as you can imagine, after 24 years of being Daniel's mom, I have this incredible library in my brain of the best and worst experiences of my life. So I'm just going to kind of open up the floodgates a little bit. Welcome, everyone. My name is Julie Hasselberger, and this is the Adapted Life podcast. I've created this podcast because there are many of us out here in the world who have faced life-altering challenges and adversity which can permanently alter the life that you once envisioned for yourselves. For me, it was when my son in 1998 was diagnosed with devastating disabilities, and everything changed. I'm here now to bring encouragement, compassion, support, community. This podcast is a journey into how I actually have learned to adapt, develop resiliency, and create a wonderful life far better than I ever could have imagined when all I could see was crisis. I'm starting here with you. This is a place of laughter, learning, compassion. So thank you for cheering me on as I am stepping out with complete vulnerability into this new adventure. This is my adapted life, and I hope it will be yours too. So welcome back to the Adapted Life podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some pretty cool memories that I have. But first of all, I want to just say that Daniel just had a birthday, my son. He turned 24, which is pretty incredible. So amazing. So, very early on in Daniel's life, when we were seeing specialists, trying to determine what his life would look like, we asked that dreaded question about what are we looking at in terms of his mortality? How serious is this? So, for someone with this degree of polymicrogyria, we were told he would probably live to see 10 years old, but everything beyond that, they were really not sure. And that is because, in terms of lifespan, comorbidities can develop and other things can happen that could, cause him to pass away. So it was sort of a ballpark that if he lives for 10, that he's likely to live another 10, but that is definitely dependent on all of the factors that could develop as he grew. So, anyhow, seeing my son's birthday is always a time for celebration. It's very, very cool. It's also around Thanksgiving. So, in the spirit of being grateful, it's just a nice thing to add to the Thanksgiving gratitude list. So, also, along with Daniel's birthday, is his sister's birthday, which is 2 days prior to his. They are 2 years and 2 days apart. So, happy birthday to Daniel. What is today? Oh my goodness. It is Friday, December 3rd. So I was thinking about what to put in this episode, which is always like a little brainstorming sesh for me. But I'd like to share some memories with you all because, as you can imagine, after 24 years of being Daniel's mom, I have this incredible library in my brain of the best and worst experiences of my life. So I'm just going to kind of open up the floodgates a little bit. And I sat here and I said, okay, what can I come up with? So, what comes to mind are a couple of really special things that happened over the years. When Daniel was really little, like 1.5 years old, very, very small, the struggle was already very, very difficult for us. We still at the time had many friends from our early years, young families, and some of them, who really wanted to help us, organized what they called Daniel's Day. And it was basically a walk where people would donate money, like a marathon, but a walk, right? So it was a fundraising picnic essentially to help us with our growing expenses. It was such a beautiful day. It was really the first time we had all gotten together to really kind of recognize what had happened to Daniel. And we have some very, very good friends. I don't really stay in touch with too many of them anymore, but They are still my very good friends. So it was at a place called Harkness Memorial State Park, which is a sprawling, beautiful estate that has amazing views of the Long Island Sound. And we took this great big walk, basically, in this big loop that looked out over the ocean. And our friends later presented us with a check at the end of the picnic. And that was truly a day devoted to Daniel and friendship and compassion. And although it was so long ago, I still remember like all the details, like everything. It was one of the first memories that I have where I witnessed that universal kindness, when something happens to somebody else and people just really want to be there for you. Um, and then there was another event that came a little bit later. So this one was when Daniel got a little bit older and he was in a special needs stroller. And then they moved him into his first wheelchair, which was a heavier piece of equipment. And as he grew, we were lifting him into a special needs seat in the minivan we had, and lifting his wheelchair. And it just got to be really hard because he was heavy and the chair was heavy. We knew that this was not sustainable. So we began researching into what a wheelchair van was going to cost us. So I think a lot of us go through this that are making this transition for a vehicle. But even back in 2004, a modified minivan ran like 60,000 to start. It was crazy because you had to, have the van converted and that kind of thing. I need to take a pause. So I had heard of other special needs families trying to raise funds and have fundraisers to get vehicles for their wheelchair bound children. So I started talking around with a couple of people and some really good friends of mine who I knew were very creative and had good resources. And I asked what they thought I should do. Before I knew it, and it happened really fast, there was like a whole bunch of us who formed a little committee, and we just started planning and executing an event to raise money for Daniel's new van. So the event would be a giant picnic under the pavilion at Dickinson Park in our town, Dickinson Park. It's one of several, but it's a really, really fun park. So as time progressed, the event was staged. I think it was in June of that year. Daniel was like 3 or 4 years old. Um, it was fantastic. So the food was all donated. The drinks were donated. Uh, the raffle with all the prizes, it was all donated. So somebody donated pony rides. I'm trying to remember all the things. Somebody else set up a bouncy house. We had face painting. Somebody DJ'd, and so many people volunteered. It was just really a beautiful day. And I remember standing there just like astonished. I don't know how they got the word out, but it felt like 300 people came through. I mean, it was just so, so nice. Even the fire department showed up and the ambulance corps so the kids could look at the equipment and that kind of thing. It was just really fun. It was a day of magic. Um, yeah, unlike anything that I had ever seen at that point. So John and I still have moments today when we kind of recall that picnic, especially when we're at that park. We always remember that special day. And basically, all these incredible people raised most of what we needed to buy the van for Daniel. It was a Ford E250 conversion van, like one of those big ones with the raised roof inside. It was a big van. The kids called it the big van for years, but it was great for a growing family. It had an under vehicle hydraulic lift for the wheelchair, and it was perfect. And yeah, we were just so grateful. And even the remaining van payments that the fundraised money didn't cover were picked up by a local foundation called the Scotty Fund, and they paid off that van until there were no more payments. So we never had to pay for the purchase of the vehicle. And it's still with us now. It is now 17 years old, and she has been an incredible part of our family. But some things have gone wrong, like the thyroid. The tie rod on the front end just broke off one of the tires. It's had a couple of transmissions. It's got a lot of rust. The lift itself is outdated. So if it breaks, it's going to require a lot of money to put a new one in, and it won't even be worth it because there's so many things that are broken. So we really know that we need to get a new van. We don't want a hydraulic lift. We just want like a Toyota Sienna kind of van with just a almost manual ramp, which is all we need because we're pushing him into the van. But even those are, still, 60. I think the van that I looked at, which was a basic van with a basic ramp, was about $72,000. Seems like a lot of money, but it is what it is. And anyhow, so that picnic that day was just magical. It was just incredible. I just was like astonished at how amazing people are. So fast forward 17 years later, yeah, I'm researching into grants and programs right now as I'm thinking about it. I did find that one program that will cover some of the money towards the conversion. And a couple have turned me away because Daniel's too old, but I'm still researching, and hopefully, the universe will help me figure it out because we really need a safer vehicle to transport him around. Because the wheelchair van for somebody in a wheelchair is their lifeline to everything. It's how they get out. Somebody can't just come pick him up. He can't just call an Uber, right? It's his lifeline to getting out in the community, getting to doctor's appointments, just going out in general. It's just so vital. So we need a new one. But we have such cherished memories of that event that brought us the van that we do have. Oh, what else, friends? The things that come to my mind when I just do a mind dump. Here we go. So there was the dream trip in 2010. We were referred to an organization called Dream Come True of Western Connecticut. And that was for a wish trip. Now, we didn't go to Make-A-Wish because many, many years prior, Make-A-Wish had gifted us with a playscape for our children. It was in a backyard with a special needs swing, which was also phenomenal. My kids had this adapted setup where Daniel could swing and they could play. It was really amazing. So I didn't think that he would be eligible, but Dream Come True is a completely different organization. So we were referred and they accepted, and they agreed to send us on a dream trip for Daniel and our family. And the primary wish came in as we would love to go swim with dolphins, and that was it. So basically what they did is they sent us down to Orlando for a week. We went to Give Kids the World Village, which is near Orlando. It's basically a whole venue set up with, villas, and the whole area is all set up for dream families and dream wish children. I don't know what they call it, and their families to stay. Everything is accessible, adapted, and completely run by volunteers. It's a beautiful, beautiful little place. Bigger now, yeah, but they really cater to your every need. So basically, we stayed there, but we went to Discovery Cove and had a whole day of swimming with the dolphins and the wildlife. It was just a beautiful, beautiful day. We also went to Disney World. We went to Universal Studios, and Daniel got to meet Barney in person. He was like thrilled. But unfortunately, the heat took its toll. The very last day, we went to Animal Kingdom, and Daniel had a seizure while I was on the ride with the kids, and I came off the roller coaster, and he was having a seizure in the gift shop. So we had to call the ambulance and ended up in the hospital. And we had to wait a few days before he could fly again. But ultimately, he was okay after a good rest. And we went home. It was just an incredible experience. We're so grateful to Dream Come True because that was something we never could have afforded, especially during those times. Yeah. So, most people that I know who experience hardship because of some extreme medical cost or some other related expenses due to severe disabilities generally feel kind of awkward accepting gifts of charity. But sometimes the receiving is really as wonderful as or wonderful a blessing as the giving. You know, it's just very, very it's hard for some people to open up and just receive because they feel like their own circumstances embarrassing or difficult, and they feel, like it's like you're less of a person if you have to ask for help. But inside that daily bubble of someone who's caring for a disabled person, somebody who is really, really frustrated is a challenging and expensive place to be. It's really hard. And every once in a while, if somebody offers you an olive branch and says, "Here," it's a gift. It's not done out of pity. It's done out of compassion. Then I don't know. I was always very open and grateful. So I guess what I'm saying is, sometimes even these things were kind of hard and emotional to accept, but yet we're so grateful because, we wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the things that we did were it not for the kindness and amazing generosity of other people. So, uh, you know, I know what it's like inside that bubble. You know what I mean? That bubble I spoke of where you're in your little world, right? And it's expensive, it's challenging, it's stressful, it's exhausting. Um, long, long hours just trying to deal with insurance company on the phone because of a denied bill, right? All the bills, the stress, the fear, the exhaustion, the impact on relationships. It's very hard to sustain your sanity. It's hard to sustain, a happy, positive mindset sometimes. And I know what I'm saying is I know what it's like on the inside of your bubble. I know because I'm in there right now. So for me, when somebody reached out and offered kindness, personally, I get so overwhelmed emotionally that I usually cry. And, it's just how my persona, I guess, reacts to the kindness of others. Um, yeah, these are all good memories. Anyway, one last thing I'll share with you, one more little story. And there are many, but we had to renovate for Daniel. So it was after the wish trip, but we were realizing it was getting really difficult in the house. So we have an older home. It's around 1978 salt box colonial. So, they weren't built very wide and open and airy back in the 70s. It had 4 bedrooms upstairs, and on the first floor, we had a den office. And we envisioned when we bought the house that that could be a potential first floor kind of a suite for Daniel someday that, we would need to stop carrying him up and down the stairs. We couldn't put in a chairlift thing because the upstairs of this house has like its narrow hallways and small doors. It just would be really difficult. The bathrooms are very small. So the time came quick when we realized, we needed to do something, started researching, and, you know, we would basically have to gut the office, half bath, and like we had this big closet place, use laundry area kind of thing. Um, so we had to look into renovating. And of course, being that I had no job and everything was a struggle, of course, renovating was like, how are we ever going to afford that, right? It would have cost about $25,000. So it was a little overwhelming. But I was determined. I said, "You know what? Let's just have a vision of this." So I really put it out there into the world. I got the word out, asked for help, and help came. Came in the form of anonymous gifts. It came in the form of fundraisers. Came in the form of Girl Scout troops raising money. It came from local foundations that help special needs kids. It came from family. It came from neighbors. It came from friends. So eventually, Daniel's first floor room with the attached bathroom became a reality. We gutted the whole thing. We put in pocket doors where we could and made it much more accessible. and there's a shower in there, so that's where he is, and I put in cameras and stuff so I could monitor him up from upstairs. But just like with our van, 11 years later, the original concept really needs to be changed because Daniel grew up and he became taller and heavier. And the original track lift, like vision that we had to take him from his bed via the ceiling track lift thing right to the shower, it really didn't work out because the bathroom is not very big, and even as big as we made it, when you would bring him around into the bathroom, he was, like, hitting the wall because his arms were so long, and it just became really difficult. So, we took that track down, we put more track in his bedroom, got a bath chair, but the shower has, like, a 4-inch lip to get over. So, now we need to gut it and put in a roll-in, but the toilet is too big, and the vanity that the guy put in is also too big. We need more space because the wheelchair is twice as big. So, basically, we need to redo the whole thing so that caregivers and myself can roll him in and out in the bath chair. Use the lift in the bedroom, put him in the chair, roll him in and out. Right now, John and I, like, physically lift him up and over the lip into the shower, and I don't let the caregivers do it because I don't want anyone to get hurt. So, that's also something I'm working on. It's crazy. Um, but originally when we're like, how are we gonna care for him safely and care I mean, we had nursing care start around that time, so the nurses couldn't lift him up the stairs, and they had physical limitations that they could not exceed, so it made it very, very easy for us to have caregivers come in. They had the whole area with him. He has a big TV in there. I mean, he has all that he needs. It's sensory lights and, you know, we're always changing it around, and right now I need to get new dressers because the old ones are all broken. Everything seems broken. Everything takes a beating, and you know what? Anything that has to do with special needs is, like, just so ridiculously expensive. So, those are just some examples over the years of times when we have been just so overwhelmed by gratitude that we've been able to achieve some big projects. And, you know, it's just hard, you know? I know what it's like to be sitting there with this child and they're crying and they have all these needs and you're like, how am I gonna do this?" You see other people like, "Oh, I just built this special needs, you know, house for my child." You're like, "Ah, how am I gonna do that?" Right? It's just hard. Anyway, I have been learning so much, guys. I just over the past year or so, I really dug deep into a meditation practice, and I've been studying a lot and meditating a lot about abundance and the law of attraction. And I realize how vital it is. It has been for me to hang on to my positive attitude. I think right along the way, I didn't really know it, but I was already trying to stay positive and to manifest. Um, I did a lot of work and read a lot of books about this law of attraction thing at the time. And I wasn't as ingrained in meditation as I am now. It has changed my life. It really, really helps me look inward and really kind of my whole mental attention is different. So it's been very helpful. I don't feel guilty about gifts that come from the goodness of others. I think gratitude is um, a universal feeling, and some people want to express their gratitude by caring for others when they can. And we're all connected. We really are. So today, friends, today is what is today? Today is December 3rd, 2021. My Daniel's downstairs with his nurse. My husband is working from home, which he does sometimes. I'm sitting here in my home office that I created out of a vision that I saw in my head of me podcasting about my adapted life here in my bubble. And I'm literally sitting in and just sitting in and working on what I envisioned a year ago that I would be doing. Like, how in the heck am I going to finish this? I, gutted this room and painted it and did all the things and did the floors, and I made it happen, saved money, got it done. And I'm still living in that bubble. I'm literally right above him right now. He's downstairs, still has major medical issues that I'm managing. I have a pile of bills and things to go through, insurance companies to call, paperwork to do for the state. We're still juggling financially. Um, our kids are grown, so in some ways it's a little bit easier on that aspect. My daughter just passed the bar. She's a lawyer now out in California, so it's like, whew, you know, one's launched fully and the other one is in college. So that's fantastic, but it's just the needs are great. They are even greater for him than when he was a child because, he's getting older. He's 24. Um, I still have that feeling of not having freedom. I am on call 100% of the time, 24/7, every day, all the days, always. I am the caregiver and the guardian for my son. It can feel very heavy and overwhelming to not be able to go on a vacation, not be able to just pop out to dinner. I mean, everything we do, John and I, depends on having someone to watch our son. And if we don't have someone who can carefully watch our son, we just can't do it. And when we take him, it's also a big deal now because we can't, we need lifting equipment and we have to be careful. We have to bring all his medical gear, all of that. It's just a lot. It's a lot. But I'm sitting here talking to you guys because I really believe throughout my journey that I am coming closer to what my real purpose is, you know? I really do. And I know that is my purpose and my passion to care for my family, but I have a bigger vision. I've always had a more of a universal global look. I feel and believe that we're connected. I created a support group in 2008 because I knew that we all needed to just be there for each other. And the same thing with the YouTube channel. I just decided I was going to share what my life is like when I pick up the camera, whatever it is that's going on. So essentially, when I look back over the last 24 years, being 24 years of my beautiful Daniel, I do see a bumpy, twisty, turning road of hardship, fear, pain, sadness, depression, lack, exhaustion, isolation, confusion, inconsistency, fighting, anger, marital problems, um, just so many difficulties. And yet I also see the in the cracks of that road are all of the beautiful flowers growing, the flowers of laughter, of kindness, appreciation, amazement, love, hugs, patience, generosity, right? Manifesting positivity. It's always been there. It's just that sometimes it's hard to get your mental attention to focus. It's like harder. It's easier to default to the things that people think of. Oh, I'm afraid. I'm anxious. I'm worried. Eh, it's easier to just default, but it's harder to, in the heat of the battle, to try to stay positive. It's just harder, especially when you're struggling. But it's possible, and that's why I'm here. That's why I wanted to do this project, right? It is possible. I'm still figuring it out. I'm sharing my research, so to speak, because in the vast imperfection of my life as a special needs mother, I have found the light somehow that I need to adapt and change course when I need to adapt and change course. And I believe that we all can do this, and it's very imperfect, but it's not hopeless. So again, that's how I ended up finding myself on YouTube. It became a way for me to channel how I was feeling. It became a place for me to express myself. And in my great isolation, being an extroverted person who loves people, it was really hard sometimes, and it was almost like my YouTube community, they're who I'm talking to. It's like I'm telling you guys about my life, and they're like, "That's awesome." Like, I have 8,405 followers right now, I think, on YouTube, subscribers. It's great. It's so great. So, I found myself on YouTube, and then that kinda led me along, and I've always been on Facebook and a little bit on Instagram, more so now, but I discovered podcasting, and then I discovered I wanted a podcast because it was another way of just making a podcast to reach out. It is very effing hard for you guys. You guys who are special needs parents out there. I want you to know that I get it and I get you. And I am in it. I am it. I changed the diapers of a 24-year-old year 24-year-old this morning. Everything was wet. Sometimes that happens. There's bodily fluid issues, right? Like, it sounds really gross, but when you have to get up in the morning and change a 24-year-old's diapers and check his vital signs before you take a sip of your coffee, that's me. I sleep with the camera on. The alerts are on high volume rather, just in case. I have found myself discovering that through all of these years, I am yet to fully discover that true passion purpose, but I know it's developing. It's becoming clearer and clearer. I think I'm very close and it feels amazing. And I'm getting there. And I just want you to know that it is possible to create and discover while you're in this bubble, right? We can do this kind of thing, right? And the thing I want to stress is that the more you find this path to positivity and manifestation and abundance, the easier the hard things become to do. So, took me a long time to kind of get there. So, I want to connect with you guys. I want to connect with everybody. And it's not just special needs children or being a caregiver, it's just for anyone who's dealing with some kind of hardship that really makes you feel like you're trapped and you're limited and you're just never going to get out or never going to get a break. I want you to know you are not alone. All of you moms, dads, caregivers, feeling like you are stuck in your house, not knowing how the heck you're going to get all the things done for your loved one, not sleeping, having medical issues yourself because of depression or anxiety, having relationship problems. I know many of my special needs friends are now divorced because the stress becomes unbearable and a lot of people don't make it. They don't make it through, and it's hard. And the mental acceptance that you are in this for the long haul, that this is a forever thing. But I'm here with you and we're adapting together. And this can be a very beautiful life. It is a beautiful life. These are beautiful human beings that we're caring for. So enough of that for today. So much to do, so much to think about. So many ways this can go, right? You can find me, Julie Hasselberger, on Instagram, Facebook, and on my YouTube channel, also called Julie Hasselberger, Hasselberger. As I develop this podcast, I hope to be able to share so much with you all, to interview relevant guests and friends, to create a global consciousness for the people who are devoting their love and their life to caring for somebody else who needs them 24/7. I am with you. I want to send my heart out to you, to all of you listeners who are on this journey of discovery with me. My gratitude is immense. My ideas are like popping all out of my head whenever I get too positive. It's like, I got to slow down and focus. I care. I really do. Caregivers unite, right? In closing, it's interesting to me that this is easier for me. The recalling of happy memories and positivity and all the generosity over the years. Like I can remember like all of it. And I have saved every document, every photocopy of a check, everything. I have all of that saved in this great big file. I call it my blessings basket. That's what I call it, because I used to have a basket and I would throw everything in the basket. And then I made a big folder and then I made a whole file drawer. It's called blessings basket. And I just go back in there sometimes and I'm like, unbelievable how much kindness there is in this world. So then I try to recall all the bad stuff, all the negativity, all the fear, all the hospital trips, all the surgeries, sicknesses, fights. It's harder. I don't put dates and faces with those as much, and I can't even remember exactly, what the circumstances were sometimes. So I've realized that I have put my focus on taking my attention and putting it on gratitude. And I had this like revelation this morning where I was like, wait a minute, I've been manifesting. I didn't even know what manifesting was, and I was doing it. Cool. So I love you all. I'm very excited. I feel very blessed. And yes, yay, I did another episode. Go, Julie. Thank you so much for being a part of my adapted life. I hope it will be yours too. See you soon.